For my question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Health and Aged Care, Senator Gallagher. Yesterday I visited the lawns in front of Parliament to speak to advocates for the many victims of the epidemic of male suicide in Australia. Not a single Albanese government minister, senator or member bothered to turn up. In 2023, more than 2,400 Australian men and boys committed suicide, while the figure for women and girls was 203. In January 2023, the Albanese government halved the number of subsidised psychologist appointments per person. This has affected veterans, farmers, police, health workers and many other sections of our society. Minister, given growing mental health problems in Australia contributing to our suicide epidemic, when will the government restore funding to 20 subsidised psychologist appointments per person?
Thank you, Senator Hanson. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, President. I thank Senator Hanson for raising the very important issue of the mental health and wellbeing of Australian citizens and the difference, in particular, in numbers of men who are successful with suicide than women, and that has been the case for as long as I've been watching that data, and obviously how we deal with trying to support people who are contemplating suicide, I think, is a real focus of everybody in this chamber. It has huge individual cost, obviously, family and friends costs, and also significant costs to the community. I can go through a number of the initiatives we are funding in mental health, and I wasn't aware of that gathering on the lawns of Parliament House yesterday. On the issue that you raised about better access, the issue we found with that program was when it was returned to its normal level of 10 sessions, it was expanded only in COVID for 20 sessions. When it returned to its original level of 10 sessions per person, that it allowed a much greater number of individuals to access it. So it didn't reduce access, it actually increased access because what we saw was that there's only a certain number of psychologists, and if they see the same patient 20 times as opposed to seeing 2 patients 10 times, that we were able to— well, yes, it's demand-driven, but there is only a finite capacity of psychologists available to provide services. And so what we've seen is that
Minister, please assume your seat. Minister Wong.
Senator Ruston today, President, has ignored your ruling and laughed about ignoring your ruling on numerous occasions. And it is time that she, as a senior member, actually showed the chair some respect.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Ruston, I have called you, and the minute after I called you, you continued interjecting. You are being disrespectful to me, and I'm asking you that when I call you to order, you come to order. Senator Thorpe, you come to order as well. Minister Gallagher, please continue.
Thank you, and I will provide some more information in the next answer.
Senator Hanson, first supplementary.
Thank you very much. Advocates at yesterday's event spoke passionately about unjust family law outcomes contributing significantly to the epidemic of male suicide in Australia. The Albanese government's removal of shared parental responsibility from family law has made the system even more biased against men and fathers. Minister, will the government acknowledge the family law system is heavily biased against men and fathers and is contributing to the male suicide epidemic in Australia?
Thank you, Senator Hanson. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, and I thank Senator Hanson for the question. And just to finish up on the Better Access program, which I just think it is important, the evaluation found that people with lower incomes and those living in rural, regional and remote areas were missing out on much-needed care, and that's why one of the programs that we are starting through the last budget is to establish a new national mental health service free of charge for all Australians regardless of your postcode, and there was significant investment, and it was particularly to deal with the issue that you raised, Senator Hanson. On the family law matters, the changes we made to family law were not aimed at disadvantaging one parent over another. They were focused on, and this was informed by advice from various inquiries, to have the focus on custody arrangements or access arrangements to be made in the best interests of the child. And that was, I think, agreed through this place. It was not aimed at disadvantaging any parent.
Senator Hanson, second supplementary.
May not be the case, but it's having the impact. The Albanese government has committed considerable taxpayer funding to address women's issues and has appointed an Assistant Minister for Women. The government has also stated on many occasions it is committed to gender equality. Minister, when will the Albanese government show a real commitment to gender equality and appoint a Minister for Men?
Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, and I thank Senator Hanson for the question. And she would note from the first National Strategy on Gender Equality that it does include and mention specifically areas where men and boys face particular disadvantage. That is the whole purpose of gender equality. It is not promoting women over men or men over women. It's saying that we all benefit when both gender have access to equal opportunity. That is the whole nature of having a strategy on gender equality. And I can tell you that the assessment, particularly around health and particularly around mental health and access to health services, is looked at through what services are targeted and best designed to support men, and how do we reach men, particularly in relation to health services, because we know that men are more reluctant than women to reach out and access health services.
Well, I asked the question today of the Minister with regards to male suicide and boys suicide in Australia, which was 2,500 in the year 23 and only 203 females. Now, I asked the question, why wasn't any Labor representative down there to meet the on the lawns of Parliament yesterday when this happened? Now, the question I put to it, and I know for a fact, veterans, farmers, defence personnel, policing, these people, paramedics, health professionals, these are the ones that are in the risk of suicide. I asked a question about 20 visits a year has now been cut to 10 visits a year because we don't have psychologists. We have all these suicides that are happening, or people who have even attempted suicide who need assistance but can't see a psychologist because we don't have psychologists. How about looking at the NDIS? Because what we pay for people, professionals who, because it's NDIS, they can get paid up to $195 an hour. So you've got psychologists leaving the profession, not dealing with veterans, not dealing with those people that need it in the normal sector, but all flooding to NDIS. So that's one. Let's look at what we're paying them in NDIS. Another thing is, why don't you give incentives to the universities to get the students to actually apply for psychology courses? Give them incentives, because this problem is not going to go away, and we have to find measures of addressing it. I also addressed about family law, but you've got to close bloody heart to this, because you're not admitting of your policies, legislation is making it harder, and you say it's in the best interest of the child. Well, the reports have said the best interest in the child is to have a connection with both parents, and when you deny the parents connection with the father, and by all means, if there is abuse there, by all means, but when there's not, fathers are being denied the right to see the child, so it's in the rights of the child to have that connection with fathers. Stop suicides happening in this country and get a Minister for Men.